Hey Freedom Fighters, in this episode, I'm going to give you 6 steps to success that you probably need to hear right about now. Hi, I'm Natalie Sisson from New Zealand. Thank you so much for joining me on the Suitcase Entrepreneur podcast, where twice a week I bring you inspiring interviews with everyday people, entrepreneurs, and world changers, as well as my own take on life, business, and travel. Once, I was stuck in the corporate world, but finally I broke away from that and created my own freedom business. And for the last 5 years, I've been living out of a suitcase, traveling the world, and running my multiple 6-figure business, teaching people just like you how to create freedom in business and adventure in life. So thank you so much for joining me, and let's get this party started. Hey, it's Natalie Sisson and welcome back to another episode of Fresh in 15, where in 15 minutes I give you a fresh perspective on your business, mindset, or lifestyle. And I'm currently here in this incredible villa in Bali with my good friend Marianne Cantwell from Free Range Humans. I'm lapping up the pool, I'm doing meditation every morning yoga at sunrise, eating healthy, looking out into rice fields, and just feeling generally pretty pumped up about life. Doing a lot of relaxing and also looking over everything that I've done with the Freedom Plan and what I'd love to achieve this year. So I'm really looking back over my success factors and things that I'd love to improve on to make it epic. And this is something you get to do when you give yourself the chance to reflect. Every single Sunday, actually, I have a little calendar entry that pops up in my calendar, ironically, and it says reflection time, and that's when I should, if I'm really smart about it, take half an hour out and just look back over the week that I had, what went well, what I could have improved on, things that I enjoyed, things that I'd like to do better. And just giving yourself this time to reflect is really, really important for then going ahead into the week and knowing exactly what you want to be working on, how you want to feel, and what you want to succeed in. And it's not always about success all the time. I'm talking about your personal success. Did you eat well this week? Did you exercise as much as you wanted? Did you get great quality sleep? Did you hang out with the friends that you really wanted to catch up with? Were you present in your relationships? Did you feel like you were winning on all these fronts, not just related to how much money did you make, how successful was your business this week, how many clients did you close, how many things did you tick off your list? Those things are obviously important, but at the end of the day, it's all about living your fullest life and being your best self every single day. And that's sometimes hard to do when things get in the way or you have fears and doubts. So my 6 steps for you today to consider with regards to succeeding are these. Number 1 is just freaking do it. So a lot of people get hung up on all the steps that they need to take before they launch their website, or all the things they need to consider before they launch a program, or everything that they need to do before they consider heading off to a new country. And even though having a plan is a really good idea, and I talk about a 1-page business plan, it's not enough. Action is where it's at. So the action is that bit between the plan and actually getting it done, where we have this disconnect, where I see a lot of people stumble, where they talk a lot about their hopes and dreams, but never actually turn them into the reality. So just want you to get out there, take action, because as soon as you take 1 step of action, the universe actually turns up and helps you with it. And then you take the next step and the next step and the next step. So you've got to break this down into manageable chunks and take action. Number 2 is to never, ever, ever give up. On this front, I'm just talking about, sometimes we have setbacks, sometimes we have a bad experience, and I see people turn back right at that point. They get 1 bad piece of feedback, they get 1 shitty review, they get 1 commenter who gives them some flack. They have 1 client who isn't happy with their work, and they go, who am I to do this? I'm obviously just not cutting it. Maybe I shouldn't have done this in the first place. Or you are in manufacturing and your manufacturer's order gets lost at sea, like it did once when I was working for a hair care company. Or everything in its power to do with technology goes wrong when you're trying to hold a webinar. Been there, done that. The point is there is always a workaround. There is always a solution. I was talking with Jared Easley and Dan over at the podcast Summit. And I was in Melbourne. I'd set myself up in a great room, had excellent internet. I'd logged into the meeting room early, had all my, my microphone set up, was feeling good. And for whatever reason, they just couldn't hear me. They could see my video, they couldn't hear me. I tried everything. We were private messaging. I restarted things. I relogged in, reactivated, nothing. And they have all these people on the line waiting to hear me talk about podcast sponsorships. And luckily, I was about to suggest it, but Dan said, let's go across to a Hangout. So they put the Google Hangout link in there. We all transferred across. Everything worked great. We were about 10 minutes behind schedule, but you know what? People wanted to hear what I had to say. They were willing to work with technology. They get it that this happens. The world didn't end. It went really well. People loved it. It was a great session, good energy. And there's always a solution. You know, I've had webinars before or live calls where things just didn't work out. And I found a workaround, like I've either made another time, I've swapped them to a different platform, you know, I've offered them a bonus as an apology. There's always things that you can do. With a client that's not happy with your work, there is always a way to get them back on side. Over deliver, take them out for lunch, talk to them, send them a card, whatever it may be. So I don't want you to ever give up. If some obstacles come up in your way, you have this dream idea for a vision or a project and just things aren't going right. It's not that the project's not on track or that it's not a great idea. Maybe it's just the way you're tackling it. So it might be a great time to take a mentor out for lunch, call them up and say, look, give me a different perspective on this. Why isn't this happening? What's not working? What do I need to do to change things up? But never give up on your overall dream and vision. There's plenty of stories about people who had no sales for months, people who told them the whole way along, why are you doing this? Why are you pouring your money into this? It's never going to work. And then they stuck through it. They never gave up. And now it's an overnight success story that took 5 or 10 years. Number 3 is fake it till you make it. A lot of people seem to have a bit of an issue with this, and that's honestly their problem. Because as you may well know from great NLP books, from a lot of mindset reading that you can look at, videos, etc. One of my favorite gurus in the space, and I use that word very sparingly, Anthony Robbins, talks about, being in that place of coming from exactly where you want to be. So talking as if you are already there, developing that mindset and that attitude that you are already succeeding, that you have already got the business of your dreams, that you're already making the money that you want, that you have the relationships that you want. And sometimes a little bit of faking it until you're making it works a treat. I talk about this from a point of dressing for success, of assuming that your business actually seems bigger than it really is. If you need to have somebody pick up the line and act as if they're in the accounts department to make you seem like you're a bigger firm and that's going to win your clients, then do that. If you have to be the marketing, sales, and accounts department, but act as different people, then do that. If you need multiple email addresses, marketing@suitcaseentrepreneur.com, sales at, if that makes you and your business seem bigger than it is at the time and it's where you want to go and you have a vision for a multinational, multi-million-dollar company, then do whatever it takes to put on that front now. Because what actually happens when you start doing that is you start acting with the belief and intention that this is in fact true, and you get there a lot faster. Hence my painted picture. And if you want to know how the painted picture works, please come across and listen to mine, my 3-year vision, but in the present tense, at suitcaseentrepreneur.com/125. I did a whole podcast episode where I shared with you my vision for the future in the present tense, and so much of it is already starting to come true again. So thank you for that. I'll also link to it in the show notes for this episode, so do come across to my website. It's pretty funky. It does actually exist. There's cool pictures. There's sometimes your Instagram photos that you've taken and tagged me in of where you're listening to this podcast. And this episode will be at suitcaseentrepreneur.com/133. So basically, faking it till you're making it means that you man up or woman up, you show up, and you start acting as you mean to go on. Okay, number 4 is about embracing the self-doubt that you are no doubt going to have along the way. We all have it. Even when you've been succeeding for a while, even if you've been standing on stage in front of, hundreds of thousands of people and delivering kick-ass speeches, you have just had your best 6-figure, 5-figure month, you've just closed all these incredible clients, maybe you've just opened up a new shop and you're feeling on top of the world, you're still going to have those moments when you wake up in the morning and you feel like you can't do it. It's incredible, actually. Often it comes after a real high when you've done an amazing job. You suddenly wake up the next day and you're like, oh my God, who am I to be this person? I can't do this. This isn't going to work. I can't sustain this. So embrace it. Embrace those moments when you're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, because that means that you are human, and that is you actually connecting with your vulnerability. And in vulnerability, there is so much power. If you don't believe me, read Brené Brown's The Power of Vulnerability. You need to connect with the self-doubt, because for as imperfect as we think we are, we still have a really strong belief in ourselves. And every so often that self-doubt is just checking in with how strong that belief is. It's a little test for you. It's a test for you to stand up and go, no, today I may be feeling a little less than superhuman, but I know I'm on the right track. I know I'm doing great stuff. Those are also the great days to go and read your pages where you have feedback from people, testimonials, or just some of those lovely little emails that you get from your community and your clients where they praise you, and you need to read those on days when you're feeling the self-doubt. Okay, number 5 is an important one, and it's all about the fact that you cannot do this on your own. So I've talked a lot in the past about the power of masterminds, about having mentors around you, about being part of a club or a community or a group where you can turn to those people and get advice when you need it. When you're having a low time, you can just call them up and they can get you back on track. You absolutely have to have the right people around you to make you feel on top of the world, to collaborate with, and to reach out for support. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with the Right to Freedom when it comes up. In fact, I've identified that as a 3 to 5 year project, I am absolutely going to need to collaborate and ask people for help, which is a big deal for a lot of people. Not many people, including myself, feel comfortable about doing that when you start, but it's the only way you're going to become stronger, the only way you're going to be able to expand and scale and truly reach your capacity is to enlist the help of other smart, wonderful people. So don't ever think you need to go on this entrepreneurial journey alone. You absolutely don't. And on that moment, I'm definitely going to tell you about my one-day mastermind in San Diego. It's happening on March 28th. If you feel like being surrounded by 8 other wonderful, like-minded entrepreneurs, come and join myself and special guest John Lee Dumas, who's now built a $250,000 a month business. He's going to be coming in to do a session around mindset and growing a great business and joining us for dinner. So if you want to do that, I'll link to that in the show notes. And there's only about 5 spaces left at this point. I just put it out. So a brilliant place for you to be surrounded by like-minded entrepreneurs and transform your business and mindset in one day. I love masterminds, so I hope you consider it. And the final one is number 6, is to back yourself. You know, really, if you need to make considerable change in what you're doing, then go ahead and do it and totally own that decision. When I quit my job in London in 2006, and everybody said that I was crazy because I had this great job and I'd just been given a bonus and I just invested in a house with a friend, the more people who told me I was crazy, the more I realized it was just totally the right decision. I backed the gut feeling that I had, that I no longer wanted to be in the corporate world, that I wanted to do my own thing. And I booked that ticket to Canada, even though it was kind of scary just heading off and leaving all my friends behind, going to a country I'd never been, to a place where I had pretty much 0 contacts to start something completely new. But I backed myself, I made that decision, and then I owned it. And every time you do this, once again, that wonderful thing called the universe will come to help you out. And if it's meant to be, it's up to me. It is a great motto to have. Don't rely on anybody else for holding you accountable at this point. When you make that decision, you are in charge of following it through. Yes, masterminds and mentors are great for once you've made that decision, helping you and supporting you and making sure that you follow through on it. But at that moment, you own it. So back yourself and know that you're making the decisions for the right reasons. That's it. That's what I had to say today. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I hope that you've taken something out of it. I hope that if you're in this place right now of fear or self-doubt or a turning point, that you will listen to these 6 steps of success once again and identify which ones you're in need of, and then go and make your dreams a reality. Please come across to suitcaseentrepreneur.com/133. I'll share some great links in the show notes, including the book that I mentioned, the mastermind, and my other podcasts that I think you should listen to. And in the meantime, thank you so much for these fantastic international reviews that keep coming through. If you have a moment, head to iTunes, rate and review this on your phone, on your laptop. Ideally, that would be amazing, because now that we've gone twice a week, we've already seen an extra 5,000 downloads in just over a week, because we now have more content going out. So I would love for more people to discover this podcast, especially this 15-minute segment. 15 minutes, everybody has, and I hope that it's bringing you a little bit of joy and sunshine in your day. I'm signing out from Bali. I have to go and eat a healthy breakfast and a wonderful smoothie and lap up some of the sunshine and good times with my friend Marianne. So thank you so much for listening and have an incredible week.